Hello everybody, in this video I'm going to teach you how to create a PHP file to connect to a MySQL database, and also how to perform the basic operations just like select, insert and update. First of all, I'm going to create a test.php file. I'm using the cPanel file manager, but you can use any text editor of your choice. Okay, so let's just create the file test.php. I'm going to edit this file. Okay, first of all, in PHP we must place the first tag and the last tag. This is the basic for the PHP. Also, we must have our database name, database username and password in hand. So this will be our information. My database name is domainx underscore database, username is domainx underscore user, and password is my password 123. We must keep this info so that we can just prepare our PHP file. So first of all, we're going to create three variables in PHP. One for database name, which will be called db name. The second variable is username, it will be called user name, and the third will be called user pass. So I'm going to populate these three variables. In the database name variable, I'll place the database name according to my files. In the username variable, I'm going to place my username, and in my user pass variable, I'm going to place my user password. Okay, we have our database and username configured. So here it comes, the Mysql connection itself. So first we must use a variable called connection, which will be used all over my program. It will store the pointer, the handler of the Mysql connection all along. Okay, this connection will be closed as soon as the PHP file stops working. So when the PHP file starts processing, the connection will be active, and until the end of the PHP, the connection will be active to the MySQL database server. So first of all, connection variable equals MySQL underscore connect localhost, comma, user name, comma, user pass. So we're using a connection pointer variable, and we're calling the function MySQL connect. This is the localhost where the MySQL database is in the same server. This is the username of the database, and this is the user password of the database. right after connecting to the MySQL, we have to select the database. So we will go and choose the command MySQL select DB with the variable DB name, and afterwards the connection variable. So what does it do? It selects this database inside this connection. This connection will be already active because we have already connected here in the first line. Okay. So we are going to test this PHP file, and if no error message happens, that means we are successfully connected to the database. Okay. First of all, we are going to save changes. Okay, this is saved. So we are going to the browser to open the PHP file. I'm opening the test.php. So as nothing happened, that means that our PHP file is just connected to the MySQL successfully. So no issue happened. Afterwards, I have created a test database, a test table called customers. This is the table name, and these are 5 fields. First field is ID, which is used for primary identification of the customer. Second field is name, for the customer name, address, phone, and city. This is just a sample configuration for us to test. If you click browse, we will be able to see the content of this database. So we have 2 customers registered here, which I already inserted by hand. Okay, and we are going to do the PHP so that we can query or select them directly from the PHP file. Okay, so after the connection, we are going to first of all declare a variable with our query. So I'm going to use the variable SQL and do a simple query, just like select ID, name, phone, and city from customers, just this. Okay, so I'm just placing this query inside my variable. So after defining my query, I need to create another variable that's called resource, which will handle the query contents, the already queried content. Then I'm going to do MySQL query SQL connection. What does it mean? The function MySQL query performs this query, which I defined right here, inside this connection, which is my database connection here. Okay, so how can we, okay, this function queries the database and brings inside this resource the queried content. But okay, how can we read and print on screen this information? So we are going to place a while row equals MySQL fetch array resource So what does this while means? This while means that we are going to fetch each array, each line of this resource, and for each line we will have this array populated row. So we will have one row for each field, just like this. We're going to have one row called ID, one row called name, and one row called phone, and one row called city. So each of the fields queried here will have its correspondency here inside this array. So we are going to simply print this on screen so that we can test our select query. So that's it. We are just printing on screen each variable from our row, which comes from the resource, which comes from this query, this SQL query of select. So for each registry in my table, we will have one printed line in the browser, just like this. As we have two lines here, one for the customer John Doe and one for the customer Mary Jane, we expect to have two printed lines on the browser. So let's just save the file again, and then let's see how it goes. Okay, here you are. ID1, John Doe, the phone and the city. So it's just like expected from inside the database. Okay, so our application is just selecting the content from the database, and now I'm going to teach you how to insert a new file, a new line in the table. So we're going to again perform a new query. So we're going to have a new SQL variable, and then we're going to use insert into customers. Now the fields I wish to insert, let's say name, phone, city, and address. Values, let's say name John second, phone can be anything, city can be Glasgow, and address can be Circus Road 2. So what does this line means? This lines means that we are just placing an insert query into customers, which is the same database that we queried here, selected here. We are inserting on these fields, but these values here. So this will create a new registry inside this table. You can pay attention to one thing, very important thing. The ID field here is selected, but I'm not inserting the ID field. Why? because I have already created this database with this flag, auto increment for the ID. What does it mean? For each new line created, ID will be automatically incremented so that we don't need to take care about it. So we don't need to know which is the maximum ID we have. So it will automatically, MySQL will automatically take care of this ID numeration for us. So now we can just, we have the query ready, SQL equals the insert query. Now we should simply perform a new query in the database using the command mysql query SQL connection. Please note that this is the almost the same command as I issued here, mysql query SQL connection and mysql query. But what is the main difference? In this line I use the resource, so I bring the contents of the query to inside this variable, which will be worked here. In this case, as I am inserting a content, there is no need to place a resource here because it won't retrieve any content. It will simply place the insert. So we're going to test now in our server. Let's first of all save this file. Okay, this is saved. Just one observation. We are inserting the content, but first of all we are just selecting what's in the table. So when we run, we're going to see the already inserted content, and afterwards we're going to place the insertion. So we're going to run 2 times, or better, we're going to reload the page so that we can see what we have already inserted. So let's go here. We're going to reload the page. Okay, nothing happened. We're going to reload again. Here is the inserted content, the new line we have just inserted in our database. Okay, so we have already inserted these values in the database, but now we are going to, instead of inserting, we're going to place an update to update one already existing field. So what we're going to do, we're going to change this variable and place update customers set city equals Berlin, where ID equals 3. What will it do? We have here our users, our customers, and we expect to have this customer, John Second, which ID is 3. We expect to have this customer changing his city from Glasgow to Berlin. So we are simply updating the table customers, setting city equals Berlin, where ID equals 3. If I preferred, we could do also one thing. For instance, we can change the city to Berlin, where name equals John Second. That will be also possible as well. But to perform this test, we're going to use the ID. Okay, so the update query doesn't return any resource, any value, any data, just like the insert query. So we can just replace here, update, and then we are going to test. First of all, save the file. Okay, this is saved, and then as we run once, it won't return any result for us, but as we run the second time, let's just make a test. That's it. As I reloaded the page, I have here June 2nd, which city is now Berlin instead of Glasgow. So that's it. These are the basics of PHP and MySQL. This is the very basic tutorial. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like it, I would ask you to please like this video in YouTube. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye bye.